Hi, I'd like to talk a little bit about your data. Your data is something that it isn't a one and done. You don't collect it in the beginning and you're done, and nor do you just wait until the end and collect it when you're done. You're going to have a continuum of time where some of the data are pre-existing, some of the data are process, and part of the data are evaluation outcome, and this could be going on for a lot longer period of time than just what your project is going with. Now, it can be very confusing because you think, well, I collect the data on patient satisfaction or something like that, and you want to track that across time. But at the DNP level, we really need to be looking at money. So we've got a dollar sign. We have a dollar sign. We might be we're going to be looking at patient outcomes. And we're going to be looking at process measures. Oftentimes we focus on the patient outcomes alone, and that's great. We absolutely need to. The reason that we do anything in nursing has to be tied some way into a patient outcome. We're developing staff, we're developing something specific for the patient, but it all ties back into improving care. Now when we think about the pre-data, maybe we're looking at the fall rate and we're seeing the fall rate is going up, and you're very worried about this, and so you decide that your evidence-based practice or quality improvement, whichever kind of project you're doing, needs this intervention and your project. When you start your intervention, that's an interesting process because we need to mark that time. So when we talked about in the beginning, when you collect data and you did your facility assessment, you should have been collecting data about the phenomena that you're trying to examine and intervene with. That means we may need to go back in time, maybe a long period of time. Maybe with quality, you've already tried something here, and you still saw, maybe you initially saw that the fall rate went down, but then you saw it going back up, and that stimulated your idea that you needed to do a quality improvement project. Now when we get to the implementation phase and the process phase, we need to collect data at that point too, because we need to know the dynamics of what are going on. And part of that relates to our change theory, because we know that sometimes there's early adoption of something. Everybody jumps on the bandwagon and everybody loves this, and the fall rate goes way back down. But then as the glory kind of subsides, then the fall rate goes back up, and maybe it wanders around in here, maybe there's some reminders. But it gives you an idea of whether further interventions need to occur, and is that dose effect. Do we need to have a reminder here? Do we need to have a spot check here? Do we need something over here? And then by the time we're done with the project, we've got the fall rate where we want it to be. We want to track it over time. Does it go up or does it go back down? Have we done enough? Did we stop our interventions too soon? We need to be very careful that we don't abbreviate whatever our intervention is. And really when we think about our interventions, we are talking about the 5 or 6 or 25 R's. We need to have the right intervention. We need to do the interventions at the right time. We need to involve the right people. We need to do the right length of intervention in order for all of these to be captured. So those are all the things we need to think about in relationship to the kinds of data that we collect. So we need all this pre-existing data here, we need the process data, and we need the outcome data. And again, that relates to where's the cost involved in this. If we have a project that we have spiraling costs across time, that's not very sustainable, because your organization is not going to like that unless they can also see a great improvement in the patient outcomes, or something that relates to them maybe getting money back or not being fined for having, example, too many falls, so that they can recoup on that dollar. We don't need to think about the money as being a bad thing. Money is a good thing. It helps us to give resources to what it is that we think are and value as in being important. But your organization is going to be very focused on what's that dollar amount. And you need to keep track of it, because if it's high load money in this phase of implementation, but you're going to say that the money goes down over time, that's what you're going to show on these trend lines as well.